world says thank you to Hanuman Modi. First, Trump threatened India for medicines. Then Modi played savior and sent the medicines to the US. Now Trump is all praise for Prime Minister Modi.
We have more than 29 million doses, and that's a lot. And we have others. I spoke with Prime Minister Modi. They have a lot of it comes out of India, and I asked him if it would be okay if he released it. He was great. He was really good.
And Brazil's president compares Modi to Hanuman. Despite politics over hydroxychloroquine, Modi's medicine export wins India big fans. Sanjeevani Booty is rising India's Shakti. Has India's stature risen as a result? He has evaded the law for 8 days. Dodged police summons with impunity. Vanished after hosting the Tablighi Jamaat event. After 8 days on the run, he's been finally found. Jamaat chief Maulana Saad tracked down. Maulana in Delhi's Zakir Nagar. Why the long rope for Maulana Saad? His Jamaat has damaged India's corona war. Yet he evades the law with impunity. Will Maulana Saad pay for his actions? That's right, Maulana Saad has been tracked down to a location in Delhi. We will tell you more about that with a full ground report at 5:30. 8 full days on the run with impunity evading the police. And you see the damage that the Tablighi Jamaat event in Delhi's Nizamuddin has caused to India's COVID-19 fight. That full story at 5:30. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Shiv Arur and these... And it's the big breaking news that we're tracking here on India Today. Prime Minister Modi has dropped his biggest hint just yet on the expected extension to the national lockdown in India beyond April 14th as well. The Prime Minister has said that he, of course, will be speaking to all state chief ministers on April the 11th. But in an interaction today with opposition party leaders, he also said that in his interactions with district magistrates and state authorities across the country, not a single expert or person on the ground has recommended that the lockdown be lifted. And this is being interpreted as virtual certainty until it becomes official that the lockdown is not going to be extended, is not going to be lifted, I beg your pardon, after April the 14th. It will almost definitely be extended. I want to go across to India Today's National Affairs editor, Rahul Srivastav, who's been tracking this story and correctly predicting what the next steps, in this case is going to be. Rahul, inevitable that the lockdown is going to be extended. I know that it will only be made official and what the contours of it are will be on April the 11th, I imagine. But I think it is safe to assume that the lifting of the lockdown is not going to happen on April the 14th.
Yes, Shiv. From the very day that the Prime Minister had the second video conferencing meeting with the chief ministers, it was a clear indication that the centre is going to walk the consensus route as far as the final decision after the 14th is concerned. But I don't think that the decision is being dictated by political parties or chief ministers or others. Eventually, it is being dictated by the spike in corona infection cases. It is that what is going to eventually dictate, in case there is a large spike, what sources are saying in the coming days. It's almost inevitable. Today, with most chief ministers worried that both the regional and the depth of the spread in their areas is increasing with more and more hotspots emerging, the chief ministers are averse to the idea of any kind of a lifting or easing of the lockdown. In that scenario, the centre also feels its hands are tied, because even though you want to say start a railway service, and there are states who are not opening the lockdown, railways can't operate, buses can't operate, airlines can't operate. And that is why eventually the kind of picture which will emerge on the 11th, the numbers, if they multiply manyfold, certainly the lockdown will be there. Right now, what we can say, it seems like an inevitability with states like UP going in for stricter norms for containment in 15 districts. These are signs of things to come.
Yes.
And that is why the Prime Minister will get together with all the Chief Ministers on the 11th and then perhaps take the final call.
Okay, so that final call is still to be declared. It will happen on April the 11th, like Rahul pointed out. But it is virtually certain that nobody should prepare their lives thinking that the lockdown is going to be lifted. It is almost certain that it will be extended. And beyond that, over the weeks, there will be more clarity on which hotspots will continue to be in lockdown and where things might actually be eased. But this is not going to disappear with a magic wand. So that is one thing you can prepare for. Rahul, thank you very much for getting us that update. Meanwhile, in Uttar Pradesh, one of India's largest and most populated states, the government has decided, like Rahul just pointed out, to implement a complete lockdown through hotspots across 15 districts of the state to tackle the spread of COVID-19. These are restrictions that are over and above the existing lockdown across the country. 15 districts, including Noida, where I am broadcasting from right now, Lucknow, Agra, Ghaziabad, Varanasi and Kanpur will all be sealed. All essential services will be home delivered in those identified hotspots, which are being released shortly. Citizens in these hotspots will not be allowed to step out of their houses. Curfew passes will be reviewed. The order will be implemented from midnight till the 13th of April. That's 13th of April. A total of 326 cases and 3 deaths have been reported in Uttar Pradesh so far.
इस पर नियंत्रण करने के लिए प्रत्येक स्तर पर बड़ी व्यापक व्यवस्था की जा रही है और जो 15 जिले प्रदेश के सर्वाधिक प्रभावित हैं, जिनमें गौतम बुद्ध नगर, गाजियाबाद, आगरा, लखनऊ, मेरठ, सहारनपुर जैसे जिले शामिल हैं, इनमें विशेष रूप से पूरी तरह से इन्हें सील किया जा रहा है। जहां भी मामले पाए गए हैं उनके 100% घरों को सैनिटाइज किया जाएगा, उनकी जांच की जाएगी और वहां पर जो भी आवश्यक वस्तुओं की आपूर्ति की जानी है वो 100% होम डिलीवरी के माध्यम से की जाएगी।
वहां पर लॉकडाउन को 100% लागू किया जाना, यानी कि जो पास सिविलियन इशूड हैं उन पासेस को भी स्थगित किया जाएगा। इस अवधि में, जिस अवधि में एक्सटेंडेड और इंटेंसिव लॉकडाउन हम लागू कर रहे हैं, जो सप्लाईज का बिंदु पैदा हो रहा है वो ये है कि वहां पर जो लोग उन एरियाज में रह रहे हैं वहां पर सिविल सप्लाईज डिपार्टमेंट मेडिकल सप्लाईज वो डोर स्टेप पर मुहैया कराएगा।
So basically, any one location which has more than 6 COVID-19 cases is being treated as a hotspot. More information will be coming up here on India Today. Now to the other big international story in India's COVID-19 war. US President Donald Trump is all praise for Prime Minister Narendra Modi just a couple of days after threatening the Indian Prime Minister to release exports of hydroxychloroquine for the US market. Well, this after the Indian government has now allowed the export of hydroxychloroquine medication. It's an anti-malarial tablet believed to be effective in one way in the treatment of the novel coronavirus. Trump said that he spoke to Prime Minister Modi over the phone and had requested him to release the drugs to treat coronavirus patients in the United States. Remember, the US has the highest number of coronavirus deaths at this time. Trump added that he has bought more than 29 million doses from India. The drug, which he called a game changer, is currently being tested on patients in New York City. The government yesterday said that the current contracted consignments will be shipped, but all further requests will be looked into only after considering India's domestic consumption and the demands of neighboring countries.
We have more than 29 million doses, and that's a lot. And we have others. I spoke with Prime Minister Modi. They have a lot of it comes out of India, and I asked him if it would be okay if he released it. He was great. He was really good. It was, they put a stop because they want it for India. But there's a lot of good things coming from that. A lot of people are looking at it and saying, there's just, I don't hear bad stories. I hear good stories. And I don't hear anything where it's causing death. So it's not like something unsafe. We're doing vaccines, Johnson & Johnson and others, and they're doing really well. But they have to test that, Sean, because when you inoculate, when you give, millions of shots to people for a vaccine, it's got to be safe. But this is something that's been on the market for many years, decades actually. And it's worked very well in everything it's done. And they're finding that people that, like in the malaria countries, that it doesn't seem that those countries have been hit because the people take it. You have countries that have massive malaria problems, and they take the hydroxychloroquine, and they don't seem to be having the problem with the virus that all other countries are having. It's in 182 countries as of this moment. Think of that. 182 countries are fighting this plague. It's incredible.
So it's an incredible change of tone suddenly for Donald Trump from one thing to the other, because on Tuesday, Trump had threatened India with retaliation if India did not release America's purchased anti-malarial drugs made in India. But today he's all praise for Prime Minister Modi after India has decided to export that hydroxychloroquine to the United States. Listen in to Donald on Tuesday and Donald yesterday.
I spoke to him yesterday. We had a very good talk, and we'll see whether or not that's it. I would be surprised if he would, because India does very well with the United States. For many years, they've been taking advantage of the United States on trade. So I would be surprised if that were his decision. He'd have to tell me that. I spoke to him Sunday morning, called him, and I said, we'd appreciate your allowing our supply to come out. If he doesn't allow it to come out, that would be okay. But, of course, there may be retaliation. Why wouldn't there be?
We have more than 29 million doses, and that's a lot. And we have others. I spoke with Prime Minister Modi. They have a lot of it comes out of India, and I asked him if it would be okay if he released it. He was great. He was really good. It was, they put a stop because they want it for India. But there's a lot of good things coming from that. A lot of people are looking at it and saying, there's just, I don't hear bad stories. I hear good stories. And I don't hear anything where it's causing death. So it's not like something unsafe. We're doing vaccines, Johnson & Johnson and others, and they're doing really well. But they have to test that, Sean, because when you inoculate, when you give, millions of shots to people for a vaccine, it's got to be safe. But this is something that's been on the market for many years, decades actually.
Well, actually, it isn't just Trump, but Brazil's president, Jair Bolsonaro, has also been praising Prime Minister Modi with some very lofty terms. The Brazilian president has written a letter to the Indian Prime Minister actually comparing him with Lord Hanuman. We wonder if it's a coincidence that today happens to be Hanuman Jayanti, but he has actually invoked Hanuman in his praise for the Indian Prime Minister. Well, this again after India decided to permit the export of highly sought after hydroxychloroquine tablets to Brazil as well. In a letter written to Prime Minister Modi, the Brazilian president has said, and I quote, "Just as Lord Hanuman brought the holy medicine from the Himalayas to save the life of Lord Rama's brother Lakshman, and Jesus healed those who were sick and restored the sight to Bartimeu, India and Brazil will overcome this global crisis by joining forces and sharing blessings for the sake of all peoples." So both leaders, Bolsonaro and Modi, had in fact spoken on the phone last Saturday and discussed the COVID-19 situation. Prime Minister Modi had assured all possible support to Brazil in its fight against coronavirus. President Bolsonaro was also India's guest at this year's Republic Day ceremony in January. So what is anti-malarial hydroxychloroquine really all about? Trump first threatened, India exported, Trump and Modi is being praised about it. But what is this drug that you're hearing about, hydroxychloroquine or HCQ? It seems to be in such high demand after some studies have suggested that it has an antiviral effect on COVID-19. With India now agreeing to export the drug to several countries, including the US, will there be enough left to fight coronavirus at home is one of the concerns. But is it really a concern? Take a look at the story.
As the world battles coronavirus outbreak, India's hydroxychloroquine has become the Sanjeevani booty for the United States and Brazil. While American President Donald Trump thanked Prime Minister Modi for agreeing to export the anti-malaria drug,
we have more than 29 million doses, and that's a lot. And we have others. I spoke with Prime Minister Modi. They have a lot of it comes out of India, and I asked him if it would be okay if he released it. He was great. He was really good. It was, they put a stop because they want it for India. But there's a lot of good things coming from that. A lot of people are looking at it and saying, there's just, I don't hear bad stories. I hear good stories, and I don't hear anything where it's causing death.
Brazilian president compared India's efforts to that of Hanuman saving Lakshman's life with Sanjeevani booty. But is India ready to export hydroxychloroquine in times of COVID emergency? Hydroxychloroquine is produced in large quantities in India and is fairly inexpensive and was available over the counter. In global market, India is one of the leading producers and exporters of hydroxychloroquine.
As India has almost controlled malaria, the sale of anti-malarial drugs like hydroxychloroquine has gone down drastically during the past 3 to 4 years. Now suddenly the outbreak of COVID-19 virus has swelled this demand beyond the expectations, not only in the domestic market but also in the international market.
Authorities say India is ramping up production of hydroxychloroquine to 20 crore units a week, something the country was manufacturing in a year before. India will keep a buffer stock of 10 crore tablets of hydroxychloroquine. And manufacturers are ready to hike production to 25 crore a month if need arises. There is enough stock in the country of raw materials for hydroxychloroquine. Shipment of immediate chemicals required for the anti-malaria drug has already begun from China.
Government sources say that a pool of 10 crore hydroxychloroquine tablets will be kept for Indian consumption from the ramped up production of 20 crore a week. And the Ministry of External Affairs, along with the Health Ministry, will look into the export and trading between two governments for HCQ. This is to check for hoarding, black marketing and price inflation.
Government sources tell India Today that there is an approximate buffer stock of about 1-2 crore units of hydroxychloroquine in the market.
There is no possibility of any shortage when we have a capability to supply products across the globe. Absolutely, there is no possibility there will be any shortage of any medicines in India. India itself has a capability to produce 5 times the quantity that is required within India of this product. So the balance quantity is usually exported. In this time of crisis, if India needs more medicines, especially the hydroxychloroquine, the industry has capability to produce more.
Indian pharmaceutical companies are raising monthly production of the anti-malarial drug 4 times to 40 metric tons by the end of this month and 5 to 6 times to over 70 metric tons by next month. Peak capacity would produce 35 crore tablets of 200 mg dosage every month. But drug makers say lockdown restrictions need to be eased to meet 100% production capacity. What's needed most is labour, most of who have already migrated to their villages.
Government has also started the control room. Via that control room, they are helping to the industries. So at present, due to the non-availability of the migrant labor, capacity is just starting from the 30 to 40%. As soon as the lockdown will be over and logistic problem can be sorted out, capacity at 100% will be start soon.
According to some studies, hydroxychloroquine has shown strong antiviral effects on the coronavirus infection. Can it then be used to combat COVID-19 till a vaccine is developed? With Milan Sharma and Anand Patel, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, since this is a complicated issue, I want to simplify it even further, break it down even further, so you and I are totally on the same page on hydroxychloroquine and why everyone is talking about it and why is the Indian Prime Minister being praised for releasing exports of it. Now, HCQ or hydroxychloroquine is an anti-malarial drug that India manufactures in large quantities. Some studies show HCQ has strong antiviral effects on COVID-19. Again, India was a pioneer in demonstrating that. 20 crore tablets of HCQ are produced in India every year. On the 4th of April, that is just a few days ago, India banned the export of HCQ because it thought that it would need all of these tablets for Indian use. On the 7th of April, that is yesterday, India agreed to export HCQ to the US after Trump in some ways warned of a retaliation against India if these pre-bought tablets by the United States are not released for export by India. There was a lot of politics over it. Government sources say that India will keep a buffer of 10 crore HCQ tablets, so there will be no shortage whatsoever in India. India has accounted for these exports. Indian pharma companies are now planning to up their manufacturing capacity by up to 6 times to meet any larger demand here in India. And this is the reason why Trump, Bolsonaro of Brazil and other leaders are thanking India, calling Modi Hanuman, calling Modi great for agreeing to export HCQ to those countries. Joining me live now, our Foreign Affairs Editor Geeta Mohan and our Senior Executive Editor Gaurav Sawant. Gaurav, keeping aside Donald Trump's threats, because, the way he talks is always quite unpredictable. We can put it down to a Donaldism. But it looks to me like India's stature has undoubtedly risen on the back of these hydroxychloroquine exports to the US especially.
Undoubtedly, Shiv, because this is one medicine. It's on the World Health Organization list of essential drugs, mass produced in India.
Yeah.
It's anecdotal evidence that it does bring down viral load. It's been tried. You and I both interviewed doctors at the Savai Mansingh Hospital in Jaipur. It has brought down viral loads. Shiv,
Yes.
You and I covered defense. Army doctors have been using this in cases of rheumatology for a very long time. Of course, I must hasten to add, this has to be used under medical supervision. Doctors have to check in case you're a heart patient or if you're diabetic, if there are certain other issues, doctors have to monitor the dosage, because this is a dosage
Yes.
that is being taken over a period of time, especially for caregivers and healthcare workers. You're absolutely right. The fact that we can give huge doses and consignments to the United States of America and to Brazil,
Yes.
undoubtedly, the Brazilian president was absolutely right in saying Prime Minister Modi or our country is actually being like Lord Hanuman, bringing Sanjeevani to revive Lakshman.
Geeta, there is an unmissable sense that India is playing savior here. Yes, we can sort of dwell on the words used by President Bolsonaro, but to keep it very serious, I also want to say that there is a geopolitical aspect of what India is doing here. And, a lot of countries, including countries like the United States, are taking note of this. This is good for India.
Absolutely very good for India, Shiv. The fact that India has not just been it's not just the world taking note of India now. India has been a leading producer and manufacturer of medicines,
Yes.
important medicines that play life-saving roles not just here in India but across the globe. And that's the reason why instead of now trying to arm twist, there's been a lot of fake news about arm twisting America and trying to get our way. India is not doing that. India is playing a leadership role.
Yes.
Looking at the humanitarian crisis, trying to help out countries that need India's help, but that will really increase India's strategic importance in the world as well, as call India as a country that looks into humanitarian crisis in a humane way, with a humanitarian angle in mind, not strategic angle in mind. But there is a lot of gains, strategic, diplomatic, as also humanitarian, with the kind of help India intends to extend after looking at domestic consumption, then neighborhood first, followed by rest of the world share.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the actions of India as the world is fighting this crisis will not be forgotten. But let's remember, that's not the only reason why India is doing it. It's not with a vision of what the payback will be later. This is a global fight. And at one level, as both Gaurav and Geeta have pointed out, India has recognized that borders in many ways have blurred now as the world sort of comes together. And whatever help a rising power like India can provide to its allies and to its friends, that is what it is doing. India is proving to be a highly dependable and responsible nation in the fight against coronavirus. Gaurav and Geeta, thank you so much for joining me. And coming up next, going from heroism... He has evaded the law for 8 days, dodged police summons with impunity, vanished after hosting the Tablighi Jamaat event. After 8 days on the run, he's been finally found. Jamaat chief Maulana Saad tracked down. Maulana in Delhi's Zakir Nagar. Why the long rope for Maulana Saad? His Jamaat has damaged India's corona war. Yet he evades the law with impunity. Will Maulana Saad pay for his actions? Think of this figure, ladies and gentlemen. 30% of the total Indian COVID-19 cases are persons who either attended Maulana Saad's Tablighi Jamaat event or are linked to those persons. That's over 1,500 people who have COVID-19 who are linked to the Nizamuddin Markaz in Delhi, and that man's been on the run. Maulana Saad, the head of the Tablighi Jamaat, has finally been traced after dodging the law for 8 full days. After being on the run ever since this entire disaster came to light, Maulana Saad has now been traced to Delhi's Zakir Nagar area. According to the latest that we know, he's under self-quarantine and only will be grilled after that is complete. Maulana Saad has been booked with 5 others for violating lockdown orders and holding the infamous Tablighi Jamaat event in Nizamuddin Markaz last month, putting the lives of thousands in danger. The Delhi Police's crime branch has so far sent 2 notices to Maulana Saad, including seeking details of 26 specific questions. But Maulana Saad has maintained that he is in isolation and due to the lockdown, he cannot access most of the details being sought by the police. Meanwhile, the Delhi government has shared contact information of 1,950 Tablighi Jamaat members with the police. Details of those who were evacuated from Nizamuddin Markaz and where all they travelled to before the 25th of March is also being sought. The crime branch is also investigating the funding of the Tablighi Jamaat event in Nizamuddin Markaz. It is investigating whether there is outside funding behind this particular event.
The chief of Markaz, Maulana Saad, who was untraceable since March 31st, has finally been located and is believed to be in Zakir Nagar of national capital. We have been given to understand by the police that now the police has his location, but at this point of time they are not planning to question Maulana Saad face to face because he himself attended the gathering at Markaz in Nizamuddin and he might be a suspected case of COVID-19. Sources within the Delhi police have also told India Today that they will be sending notices to Maulana Saad and they will be seeking answers in regards to all those who attended the gathering and about the funding which his organization was receiving from last few years. Also, the Delhi police maintains that the FIR against Maulana Saad will be investigated by the crime branch and they will be seeking answers also in regards to the violation by the organization as far as lockdown was concerned. Munish Pandey in Delhi for India Today.
Now, let me just bring this whole Tablighi Jamaat controversy, into perspective for you through a timeline. Not that you needed reminding, but I want to do this because of how badly it has affected India's COVID-19 war. It all began on the 13th of March, ladies and gentlemen. You remember that, when around 3,400 persons gathered in the Nizamuddin Markaz in Delhi. On the 23rd of March, Maulana Saad, who is the head of the Tablighi Jamaat in India, calls calls social distancing a conspiracy. He said that this call for social distancing is a conspiracy. Basically asking people, don't listen to this stuff. On the 28th of March, Maulana Saad suddenly goes into hiding because then people realize what has happened. On the 29th of March, the police and health officials began evacuating Tablighi Jamaat members from the Nizamuddin Markaz. On the 31st of March, this is well into the lockdown, an FIR is filed against Maulana Saad and his associates. On the 1st of April, Maulana Saad releases another audio message because now the heat is on him and he claims he's in self-isolation, and now he takes a total U-turn and he calls upon people to listen to government authorities and listen to state authors. First he said, don't listen to this social distancing call, and now he says, listen to the government. There are cases against him, and today he's finally been traced to Delhi's Zakir Nagar. I want to go across to India today is Aishwarya Paliwal for more on this. Aishwarya, 8 days on the run, different twists and turns with Maulana Saad. He's clearly been given an extremely long rope by the law. What kind of action is going to be taken against him once this isolation period ends?
Well, let me tell you, at the moment what the police is waiting for is for this self-isolation to get over, and after that we understand that they will go after him because he clearly did not look after the people who were there. Let me also tell you, the police has been on the search for him ever since the news broke out that there were close to 3,400 people in that building. Let me also tell you, the next day we did see people queuing outside the very building, and then they were taken to the quarantine centers. The police is also trying to figure out how many people were there. Remember, the Delhi government has given 1,950 telephone numbers of those who were present in that building to the Delhi police. At the moment, contract tracing is taking place.
Aishwarya, thank you very much for that. As of now, there are 4,643 active COVID-19 cases in the country, out of which more than 1,500 cases, more than 30%, are linked to the Nizamuddin Jamaat event, while 25,000 people, just think about that number for a second, 25,000 Indian citizens linked to the Jamaat who had come into their contact or were there themselves are now under quarantine in different parts of the country. Over 1,500 people infected and over 25,000 people in quarantine. The percentage of India's total right now is there for you to guess. It's more than 30%. That is where things are at. As almost 40% of cases in India are now linked with the Tablighi Jamaatis, there's another challenge for authorities, and that is to track the missing Jamaatis who are possibly COVID-19 suspects. In Maharashtra, more than 50 to 60 Jamaatis are missing out of a total of 1,400, a total who visited the Nizamuddin Markaz from the state. The Maharashtra government has issued a warning to those who are hiding and continue to hide. 60 is not a small number, ladies and gentlemen. In Punjab, 22 Jamaatis are currently missing. A total of 467 people from Punjab had visited. 22 are missing from there. I want to go across to India today. Saurabh Vaktania and Manjeet Sehgal, who are joining us live. Manjeet is live from Chandigarh. He's been tracking the Punjab story. Manjeet, 22 Tablighi Jamaat members still untraceable, still unaccounted for, of the 426 who had visited from Punjab.
Yes, Shiv, 445 people were traced, out of which reports of 111 Tablighi Jamaati participants were found to be negative, 12 were tested positive, and 22 people are still missing. There are no whereabouts. The Punjab government had given them a 24-hour deadline to report to the nearest police station, but the deadline has now ended, and still there is no information about these 22 missing Tablighis. And if we talk about the neighboring Himachal, Shiv, out of the 27 cases reported in the state, 20 are Tablighis. So these Tablighi participants have added to the woes of the state governments, and a number of them still remain missing.
The number of them still remain missing. 66 in Maharashtra, 22 in Punjab. Definitely not a small number given how infectious this disease is, and we will continue to bring you the data and the facts here on India Today. Manjeet, thank you very much for that. A day after his daughters tested positive for COVID-19, now top Bollywood film producer Kareem Morani himself has tested COVID-19 positive. The producer tested positive today and is now being shifted to a hospital for further treatment. His two daughters, Shaza Morani and Zoa Morani, tested positive yesterday. The municipal corporation has sealed the Morani's residence in Juhu. The positive cases have caused a scare in the locality where several Bollywood celebrities like Amitabh Bachchan, Hrithik Roshan and Akshay Kumar are residents. Well, Karim Morani is a top Bollywood producer, and currently contact tracing is also being conducted not just for Karim Morani but also his daughters Shaza and Zoa, who tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. Whether they were in touch with others from the Bollywood fraternity. These are very famous, this is a famous film producer family, and the health authorities in Mumbai, which has a large number of cases by itself, is on right now to see if others could possibly have been infected as well. Saurabh Bhaktania is finally with us. Saurabh, the Morani household has been sealed off. Karim Morani testing positive after his two daughters. Tell us about the contact tracing mission that is on right now. What are health authorities saying? Could there be a large number of infections owing to the Morani family?
Well, Shiv, till now what we have the information is that several teams of BMC officials are already at Morani residence, and when we also went to the residence, the team was already present over there. Very importantly, the building security guard is showing symptoms of coronavirus. Now his testing is also being done. So many people may have been infected, and as you know that this was the first case of this particular posh Juhu locality where the coronavirus cases came up, and now 3 people from the Morani family are tested positive, a very famous family from the Bollywood industry who has a very close contact with Shah Rukh Khan. Several of the films have been produced like Chennai Express, Dilwale and Happy New Year as well. So now what BMC officials is doing, now they are getting all the details and data of who all met the Moranis in the last 15 days. All the information is been gathered. This separate team will dedicatedly work on this, that who all the people actually got in touch with the Moranis, and their testing will be done. Now what we have learned is Shaza and Karim Morani are kept at one hospital in Juhu, while Zoya Morani has been kept at a Andheri based hospital. So 2 different hospitals where the Moranis are being kept. Several other members, or around 10 members of the Moranis live at this particular Juhu building. So all are being tested. There's several rounds of test is been done, but once again a very concern cases which have been coming up from such posh locality in Mumbai, and increasing number of cases, which is actually creating panic. And now we saw sanitization process is been done in the whole Juhu area.
Thank you very much, Saurabh, for that. A reminder that this is a disease that does not discriminate, and it's a disease that has been brought in from abroad. The affluent are certainly not immune to the coronavirus. In fact, this is a disease that began with people who've been traveling abroad for their work. Well, we'll keep a track of that. Maharashtra continues to be a big concern, the state with the highest number of cases and the highest number of deaths at this time. In fact, India Today spoke to a coronavirus survivor in Mumbai who narrates how he was made to run from one hospital to another just to get tested. The survivor also recounts how he was ostracized by his neighbors. And once again, like we were telling you about the Moranis in Juhu, this is also a well-heeled neighborhood, Pedder Road in Mumbai. Listen.
When you were hospitalized, was your family harassed? Do you feel that even educated people in top-notch, posh societies in Pedder Road as well are taking to stigmatizing this COVID-19 positive patients and ostracizing people from society? What really happened? I believe you were a bit disheartened with the manner in which your neighbors have responded to this.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you expect at times of crisis, you expect your nearest and dearest to obviously care for you and actually be there for you. But unfortunately, my neighbors instead decided to ostracize and complain to the police about my father's negligence of the handling of my case. in the building, and they actually tried to get him arrested. And I think they in fact failed this entire exercise because the BMC and the government and the police already knew about my entire case, as Kasturba had called me a few days earlier to take my entire case down. So they were very thoroughly satisfied with the mannerism in which I maintained everything. So they had no case, and thankfully my father was not in any danger of getting arrested.
But I believe there was a lot of flack that came in, and even today when you're back at home, do you feel that kind of flack? What do you have to tell such people as a person who's been a survivor and a warrior who continue to stigmatize COVID-19 patients like you?
See, to be really honest, I had done a little bit of a social media reach out to a couple of people, and I think they sort of learned their lesson. And by the time I came back into the building after I was completely recovered, there has been zero flack since then. But I would just like to get the message out there to people in society that, guys, this is a very simple virus that a person who does not have a pre-existing medical condition or is not suffering with old age or weak immunity, you can actually recover from this. And you can coexist with people in the same house with this virus. So please show your humanity, try and help your neighbors, try and help the infected, try and be kinder and helpful and more helpful to the nurses and doctors in your area. Don't ostracize them, and just show your humanity, you know. In times of crisis, we need to be there for each other. That is all I'd like to say.
Bollywood actor Shikha Malhotra, who worked with Shah Rukh Khan most famously in the movie Fan, is currently volunteering at a hospital in Mumbai to fight coronavirus. Shikha has a degree in nursing. She's decided to stay off the silver screen, not that there's anything to do under the coronavirus crisis. She's putting on a nursing outfit to become a COVID-19 warrior.
PM Modi addressed his message to the nation about 21 days lockdown across the country. As a nursing officer, I could not resist to sit at home and decided to roam around all the hospitals of Mumbai and find out where I can work as a volunteer nurse for free to serve the COVID-19 patients. Fortunately, I got my joining letter on 26 from Hindu Hriday Samrat Balasaheb Thackeray Hospital to work in the isolation ward as a nurse to serve the COVID-19 patients.
This is actress Shikha Malhotra, who worked with Shah Rukh Khan in his 2016 film Fan. But now she's putting aside her silver screen dreams, and the 25-year-old is now a corona warrior. Shikha has a degree in nursing, and the actress is currently volunteering at a hospital in Mumbai to fight against coronavirus.
Most of us, they are staying in the hospital only because if they are going with to the family, so they are just ignoring it. But I think there is no point of thinking that we may transfer the disease to you, because yes, we are taking all the precautions, all the preventive measures, which includes as soon as we enter the ward. Before that, we wear 2 or 3 kits mandatory. These kits include head mask, hand gloves, and then 2 masks which include N95 mask, which is so protectable, 3 shoe covers and 2-3 kits. So I think we are all covered, and with the neck covers, we are extra tying our neck so that we won't be able, nothing could affect. We should not come in contact with any of the patient or even the air in the ward. Yeah. So and then even if it's the whole ward is corona affected, all other patients are corona positive, whenever we treat one patient, whenever check the pulse, or whenever we touch one patient, we again change the gloves and then touch another one. And then after going out of the ward, we directly go to take bath head to toe with the warm water. So I think there is. I think I'll just request to everybody that to the doctors and nurses, I think you should rather respect them rather than getting scared of.
The coronavirus pandemic has forced 1.3 billion Indians to stay home for 21 days at the very least. Without any outside activities, Indians are now locked to their phones and their laptops. So under this lockdown, what are Desis Googling most? Is it recipes? Is it health stuff? Is it sex tips? Take a look.
Over 1 billion Indians confined to their homes, biding their time, waiting for things to return to normal. The forced pause in life has them tied to their phones and laptops, and the lack of social proximity sending internet use into the stratosphere. But what are Indians Googling most under lockdown? India Today's Data Intelligence Unit used Google Trends data on leisure-related topics for the last 90 days and found that interest in recipes has boomed in the lockdown period. The flood of searches by Indians hunting for new dishes to prepare at home even trumped health-related searches, followed by Netflix. The other two interesting keywords that have seen a big spike in searches are sex tips and the legendary board game Ludo. Under recipes, searches for dahi vada witnessed the maximum gain at 180%. Queries related to coffee, especially the trending Dalgona coffee version, were also on the rise. Both coffee and pani puri witnessed 120% rise in searches. Recipe-related searches for puran poli, uttapam, hummus and pancakes topped the charts as well. There was also a spike in Google search queries for Netflix. Indian searches related to sex tips have coronavirus on top. Even porn sites like Pornhub have adopted to bring in the searches and views during the corona crisis. Ludo, an ancient Indian board game derived from the Pachisi, too witnessed a surge in Google search. Traditionally, it has been played on a board with a cubic dice. But with most people locked indoors, they are mostly searching for the Ludo app to play the game with their pals on their small screens. The corona crisis has India and large parts of the world confined like never before in history. An army of internet watchers now reaps this priceless new information on online consumption. With Nikhil Rampal in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Modi drops the biggest hint at extending the lockdown.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.